So there was a lot of talk about dating, teenage dating today, right? Yeah. I don't have much luck with the girls, you know. They kind of like run away from me and scream. You know. One time one actually called the police on me, bro, and she was like, "What are you doing in my house?" you know, my my dating life is an injustice. I'm gonna tell you that. But speaking of injustices, there's a workplace injustice going on right now, and that's the discrepancy between male and female babysitters. Now, everybody's nodding. Yes, it's a very, very important issue. So, imagine just for a minute, just imagine if your childhood babysitter was a man. I'm going to finish that thought for you. It would be horrifying. Like, most babysitters are either teenagers or old women. Like, imagine putting a teenage boy as in charge of children. Like, after he's done teaching the kids how to mew, it would, take a dark turn once it was time to eat. Like, most guys I know can't cook, and I still have to be reminded to take the fork out of the microwave. So that leaves cooked and microwavable food off the table, literally. So the kids are gonna have to fend for themselves, and if you have siblings, you're gonna fend for yourself, Lord of the Flies style. Anyways, speaking of this topic, old men wouldn't be much better, right? Like, old men, granted, they can cook, but they'll eat all the loaves of bread in your house and drink all the Pepsi. And I hope you like watching Fox News and CNN and listening to his Vietnam stories, because that's all the entertainment you're getting all day. Speaking of stereotypes, did you know Howard, the HBCU, has a swimming requirement? Yes, it does. She knows where it's going, bro. HBCU, in case you don't know, stands for Historically Black College or University. So the only reason I would think you would have a swimming requirement is if you didn't want most of the people to graduate. You're allowed to, you guys, I give you permission to laugh at that, okay? All right, like what's next? Have a lacrosse requirement too? That's my mom saying, anyways. So I have a lot of thoughts, right? Yeah. Okay, I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts about geopolitics, and actually, I think about the possible invasion of Taiwan by China often. And I actually have family from Taiwan, so I went to Taiwan over Christmas break, and I have to say it's a really bizarre place. Like, I went there and I got to the airport, and there was a sign saying that all luggage will be checked by something called the Beagle Brigade. And this really excited me because I love animals, and I love dogs especially. So I went through customs for the first time ever happy, and I was greeted by a grown man in a chocolate Labrador costume sniffing my backpack. After that heartbreaking event, I went to a Taiwanese night market, which is exactly as it sounds, it's a night market. And I went there with my brother, and we were walking down the street, and there was this group of girls. And as we passed by them, they said ni hao to us, which means hello in their language. And so we said ni hao back, and they immediately started laughing. That, boys and girls, is called bullying. And these so-called Taiwanese mean girls really hurt my feelings that day. But I didn't think much of it, it's whatever, until I started noticing them following me around. Like, I was on the train once. One time that comes to my mind is I was on the train once, and on there I was eating, and the train conductor came over to me and said, "Stop eating on the train." And these Taiwanese mean girls were there for some reason to start laughing at me. So I had enough of this at this point, and I got up and I went over to these Taiwanese mean girls, and I said, "Why are you guys bullying me?" And the leader of the mean girls came up to me, looked me in the eye, and in perfect English said, "Because you have a square head." Yeah. And that's not even the first time this has happened to me. Like, one time I was in a subway here in New York City, and one of those basketball scammers, like those kids who come on this train asking for money for the basketball team? So he came up to me when it was my turn to, I guess, be asked for money, instead of asking me for money, he says, "You look like Minecraft," and just leaves the train. This happened. And during that whole debacle with the Taiwanese mean girls, my brother decided to be a good time to tell them a story about how he stole my phone once and made the lock screen this. So, Max, why'd you do that? What'd you say?
It's you.
Okay. But speaking of that, I've heard all the Minecraft jokes. In fact, yeah, thank you for laughing at that. So I've heard all the Minecraft jokes, and one time I was actually being bullied by a bunch of kids for having a square head, and one of them actually stood up for me and he said, "Hey, you guys better stop bullying him for his square head." I was like, "Oh my gosh, somebody's actually standing up for me." And he said, "Because if you don't, he's gonna pull out his diamond sword." Anyways, I think the moral of this story is as long as Taiwan has these Taiwanese mean girls to bully any potential invader, they're going to be free from any Chinese invasion. All right, thank you guys. It's been so great.
Give it up for Julian.